Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba. Ow! We're going on an adventure. It's gonna be so much fun. We're taking to the sky, just you and I.
Our smiles as bright as the sun.
Hey, heroes, rise up.
Rise up.
We can do it if we try. I believe in you and your feelings true. Hey, let your spirits fly. It's time for a cure of the what now?
Hiya!
It's so bright colors. Wow! We'll answer the call and be standing tall. Fun is our eternal vow. So gear up, get ready. I hope you're feeling fine, 'cause now it's hero time. Hear of the what now?
Look, up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. No, it's two dorky podcasters. Hello, fellow boys who are also birds, who are also boys who turned into birds but were reborn as boys. And welcome to Season 3, Episode 8 of Cure of the What Now? Hiya!
Yum. Oh.
What'd you say?
I said yum.
No, that's wrong.
That was last season.
That's incorrect.
At any rate, this is the one show where we know boys can be heroes too. I know it's hard for them. It's not in their nature, but with a little encouragement from the women in their lives, they also can do it.
Absolutely. Who are you?
My name is Kat, and I definitely was trying to fly when I jumped off that cliff. That was my goal.
That was the end goal was flight, nothing else. And I am your co-host Joel, and let's a salsa, let's a Moerumba. Oh yes, oh we dance around. Look at me shake my hips. Oh, it's very
Where
sensual.
did you get those maracas? I'm gonna need you to put them down.
No, they also double as my fighting weapon in case of battle.
Freeze! Maracas down and hands in the air. We will open fire if you continue your fabulous dance moves.
Of course we will. Now, before we get into the episode, before we even get into news and announcements, sometimes on the show, we talk about things that we've recently played or done or enjoyed. So I just want to say, I wasn't sure how the Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves movie was going to turn out. I liked it quite a lot. I did. I don't know if I'm going to buy it and own it on Blu-ray and rewatch it, but it was solid. And that's better than we get from most D&D or other video game style adaptations.
Man, I don't know why I thought you were going to bring up the Death of Sonic game, because you don't like Sonic very much. Not as much as I do.
Okay, yeah, not as much as you do. That's for sure.
You are constantly saying, I have no emotional attachment to the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise. You say that every time Sonic comes up. But I'm really enjoying the Death of Sonic. I think that they worked really hard on the dialogue. I love the visuals. The music is fun. It is a visual novel, so if you're not into those, it's kind of like, meh.
Yeah, we downloaded it, and I didn't know anything about it except for that it was a officially sanctioned Sonic game that came out on April Fool's. So I was expecting some kind of a parody, but the characters are, like, mostly in character, and it's kind of a silly time, but it works. But I didn't know what to expect, so I was kind of expecting it to be much funnier, and then it ended up not being so funny, and I was like, okay, this is fine. But it's a decent game. No gameplay. A little bit of gameplay, but very little gameplay. But it's mostly fun to see Knuckles complain about how he has to try to talk like a cowboy, or how excited Amy is to investigate and that sort of a thing.
There's an arcade machine that has been punched, and we asked Knuckles about it, and Knuckles was like, why would you assume I punched it? Why are you looking at my hands? Come on, man, you've got one thing you do.
He guards the Masteral Emerald. My emotional attachment is the Sonic Adventure 2 Battle for the GameCube. I have replayed that game so many times, but I don't have a attachment to the series as a whole because I think that they add too many characters, and I think that they expect you to get attached from a character who's had one game of screen time, and then they're never seen again, but somehow there's this fan following about, like, Blaze is so cool.
I've explained to you how this works. It's My Little Pony rules. The less information you have on a character, the more attached you can become to them because you can make them whatever you want.
Oh, they fit your mold or whatever.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's background pony rules. I am so attached to Sonic that my Knuckles plushie and I watched Sonic X on 4 kids every morning. And my cousins and I made a little Sonic board game one Christmas that we then put under the tree for Santa, which was kind of a weird thing to do.
It's the reverse Santa move. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah,
Santa comes down the chimney and there's just a Uno card. No, you. And you're like, what's going on here?
So very, very into Sonic here. I'm a Sonic neurodivergent.
Okay.
Moving on.
Yes, news and announcements.
Announcement and news.
Boy and girl, or boy and Precure. We actually have a kind of a big announcement coming up. Who do you think should deliver this news?
I mean, I guess I'll let you do it since you started it.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is going to be our last formal episode of Cure of the What Now? Hiya! Real life is getting in the way, and I'm sure that people have noticed that we missed last episode. Episode 8 was supposed to go up last week, and now we're doing a double episode. And I've been really bad at updating on, say, like Twitter when a new episode is out. So we've always been doing this as a hobby more than a profession. We're not, making any money off of it. We don't have like a production company or anything like that. So I think for the time being, we're going to step down from podcasting a bit, and we're not going to release weekly episodes. What that means is that I will release all of the bloopers and extras we have for these first 8 episodes of Cure of the What Now. This episode will go up as normal. After that, we're not going to promise anything else related to Happiness Charge, Splash Star, Soaring Sky. Catherine and I will continue to watch Soaring Sky on our own time, week to week. Maybe we'll tweet about it. Our Discord is always active, of course. I don't know about Splash Star and Happiness Charge, if we'll continue to watch them weekly. I'm definitely interested in watching more, but I'm probably going to prioritize Happiness Charge and a rewatch of ReZero over finishing Splash Star. I'm so sorry, AU. I know it's your favorite season, but when I have so much anime to pick from, I'm not going to watch 3 seasons of Precure when I can watch Adventures of Dying Boy and his amazing time rewind powers.
So that was a lot of words. In case you were like too long, didn't listen, we are going on a hiatus. There may be more content from us in the future, but we're not promising a regular upload schedule.
Yes. If there's like a very special episode, like when Cure Butterfly shows up, maybe we'll do one then, but it's going to be kind of an irregular thing, and you might not have any notice that we're doing an episode. We'll try to say like, hey, next week we're coming back. We're going to do a brief episode on Cure Butterfly, whoever her civilian identity might be. Who knows? But, it might also just be like a day of drop that you just kind of aren't expecting. I have a few ideas for what I might do on the Caught Side B channel, so you can also check that out. But again, if I'm taking a break because this is a lot of work, I don't know if I should promise doing other side work, But Kat and I are very creative people who like to use our time to do things, and so that might result in listenable content in some form.
Thank you, my love.
Of course.
And eventually we do hope to get back to uploading regularly. We just kind of have to take some time to get our, brains unscrambled and to get on an appropriate schedule. I don't know how the rest of you podcasters out there in the world, go to a job and watch content and then talk about the content and then edit your episodes and post them and then have time for all the other things in life. But I feel like a lot of our life is just this podcast.
Absolutely. So. Well, and other people have children or babies or things that really eat up your time, and that's really impressive. Hats off to them.
Absolutely.
One other thing, I was kind of keeping this as a surprise. I was waiting to unveil it until it was ready, but if we might not be back on the YouTube waves for, a week, a month, or whatever, I am planning on releasing all of the King of the What Now episodes that we have previously recorded on YouTube. I am not going to start that process until they are all ready, and then what I will do is I will release them one day at a time until they're all fully released. That does not mean we are working on new episodes. It just means that they will be available in both areas.
Very exciting.
But with that aside, are we ready to go into the discussion question?
Let's do it. Let's discussion.
So, Catherine, this was your brainchild, and it was, for this week's discussion question, what's your favorite henshin sequence from the series we're covering this season? What do you think makes a good henshin sequence? And we've got some feedback from our fans, our sidekicks, other heroes, fellow heroes from neighboring cities.
Oh, very happiness charge.
Yes,
I like it.
Absolutely. Well, and superhero too.
Well,
okay, yeah, but it's also happiness charge does it as well. Yeah, that's really cool.
Joel, I want to hear your answer before we go into listener answers. What is your favorite henshin sequence?
Between Splash Star, Happiness Charge, and Soaring Sky, it's Soaring Sky. It's always going to be. Soaring Sky has the energy of a performance, and they're just excited to be transforming, and they're jumping around, and the music is just really good. Like,
do you like them as a unit, or do you have a favorite individual?
I have no preference on individuals.
Okay.
I kind of want to do like a discussion question B, second part, where I go into it, but I enjoy the transformations, but I can't say that I watch them regularly. There are still lyrics in some openings that I don't know, or some things I look up from my Switch or whatever, and I go, "Oh, did you see that? There's a picture of Sora and Mashiro high-fiving in the opening," and you're like, "It's been there since episode 1. This is episode 9." And I just like, I didn't notice because I don't actually watch the visuals for a lot of openings. Same with henshin sequences. I don't watch every frame that's on screen, but the music is so good.
Absolutely. I think henshin sequences are best when it reflects the character.
Okay.
And so I don't necessarily like it as much when every character in a season has the exact same pattern. Like in Soaring Sky, I feel like it's very hard to differentiate Sora and Mashiro, other than like facial expressions. Whereas in Kira Kira Precure a la Mode,
longest Precure season title ever,
you get really individual transformation sequences, and each girl's character like just shines through in what they do as
Aoi's like hip like shaken as she summons the guitar, and the brow brow. Yeah, that's quite good.
Absolutely. All of that said, if I had to pick from the 3 seasons we're watching, my favorite transformation is Soaring Sky, just because, like you said, the music is great, the visuals are very upbeat. I really like Happiness Charge. I like its energy and the little like magic capes they get while they're transforming. But I think the visuals are a little bit nicer in Soaring Sky. Like, it feels more updated.
Absolutely. If I could give one more answer outside of the seasons that we're watching, I don't know if I prefer Soaring Sky or Star Twinkle. And again, this might be because Star Twinkle is the first season that I watched. Maybe I'm biased towards it. But they sing, and they were able to bring that back in a way that really mattered in the finale, in the All Hope Is Lost moment, and I think that's super cool.
I literally was going to mention Star Twinkle and then forgot about it by the time it got to be my turn to talk. Yes, I think that the Precure transformation is supposed to be related to the individual girl's character, right? And her willingness to fight for what she believes in.
Or in that season, to protect Fua specifically.
To protect Fua, and then to feed Fua. But the thing about the Star Twinkle opening is when they're all singing, like, that's them choosing to do the thing actively. And I feel like the transformation sequence seems a little bit more passive in other seasons, though I couldn't say why. And so I like that they kind of brought back the idol singing energy for Soaring Sky, even though they aren't directly singing a song.
Of course, absolutely. Now, we did get some thoughts from our listeners, and so I will say James had a hard one choosing, but he really liked Happiness Charge because they have like different styles and techniques, which I wouldn't say is necessarily part of the henshin. It's more part of the power set, but you know, every opinion is valid, and so that's pretty cool.
I will say, in response to James's thought, Witchy Precure had the best transformations because they had different henshin sequences for each of their different gems.
Oh, that is true. Yeah, absolutely. Especially the pudding transformation where they bounce off of the flan in the background. But no, and then for the, you know, what makes a good henshin sequence, James personally likes flashy, lots of little accessories when they pop onto the outfit. And also, to use the phrase from this podcast, oh my god, such bright colors.
I like that he attributed it to me, even though you were the original speaker.
Sometimes this information gets lost to time.
Absolutely, absolutely. And he liked Kira Kira's henshin sequence, because who doesn't? It's so good.
Absolutely.
AU also shared some thoughts with us. She really likes the silliness of the Happiness Charge transformation, where they have, like, the cloaks hiding everything. It reminds me of, like, a barbershop cape.
Yes, absolutely.
And I've never seen that in, like, the fashion world, but I really enjoy it. And AU says they get a lot more pumped watching the Soaring Sky transformation sequences, and they are unskippable. I agree, because of the music. A lot of the times, by the time I get to, episode 25 or so, I have to skip the transformation sequences because I'm like, can we get on with the episode? This takes 3 minutes of airtime every week. But I really enjoy this one. It gives me good vibes. So I'm like, it gets me pumped for the battle.
Of course. And then we also have Telemon. A good henshin sequence has to balance complex and simple. Soaring Skies is appealing because you can mix in different types of music and it feels very fun. And then he's also our resident Kamen Rider enjoyer. Kat and I have seen a season, but not much more than that, and he's seen a lot more. But he really likes Decade because of the way that setting the cards in the face is interesting. I have no idea what that means. Double has the two halves combined to make double and how the costume change works. So I think that's specific to the power set. And then Zio, the katakana of Zio setting in is really good.
If we're allowed to bring other Toku properties into this.
Yeah.
I really like the Kamen Rider transformation sequences, but especially Kamen Rider Drive, because that is my favorite season. And I have seen parts of other seasons.
Well, yeah,
so
but
you've seen their transformations.
You've never seen a full season all the way to the end.
Right, other than Drive. But I like that in those shows, the theming is more entrenched in the transformation sequences.
Yes.
So there's like car driving sounds the whole time that he's transforming.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like the way they go, start your engines. One of these days, I'm going to do a Kamen Rider Drive review for Cotwin Side B.
Absolutely, of course.
Anyway, that's what I have to say about that.
Now, the other thing that I wanted to bring in, this was the kind of side B secondary question that I wanted to talk about. AU several episodes ago was like, hey, you guys have not talked about Soaring Sky, or no, not Soaring Sky, Happiness Charge, or Splash Star transformation sequences. Can you please tell me what you think of them? And that's a really good point. I hadn't thought of it. Like I said earlier, I don't necessarily watch every moment that's on screen. I want to. Every time I start a new season, I'm like, okay, Joel, pay attention to the lyrics of the opening, pay attention to the lyrics of the ending, pay attention to the transformation sequence, try to figure out what the themes are using your own brain, not looking it up on Wiki, and then the transformation starts and I just oh, look, a shiny penny, and I look in a different direction. I do really like the silliness of the barbershop type cape that goes over the girls. I think that's really appropriate for a season in which they have different forms, both in and out of Precure transformation. I think that really fits. But Splash Star is also good because it's clearly a season about a lesbian couple, growing closer together, and their transformation sequence is them holding hands, and they call out to the spirits that they're protecting. They don't really call out to the spirits of sweets or the cure-all when they transform in Precure or anything like that.
Absolutely. I like the Splash Star one a lot. I think that if you are going to have a season where the relationship between the girls and their friendship is central, which I would argue it's not necessarily as much in Soaring Sky or Happiness Charge, but I think having them need to come together to transform really sells their relationship. Yes. And it gives you a lot more opportunity for conflict. So I wouldn't mind going back to the paired transformations.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of wish that Sora and Mashiro had a paired transformation. You're right that the season overall doesn't seem to be about their relationship, but we got a long stretch where they were the only two girls in town. They were the only two Precure who could transform, so why not have them do a specific duo transformation until the team started getting a little bigger?
Babe, I just realized, is Kabaton referring to people as side characters equivalent to an incel calling people NPCs?
Oh, no. This can't be the last normal episode that we do. That can't be a thought that we bring onto this podcast. But yeah, it kind of is. I think it's more genre savvy than it is when in real life when people do that. But yeah, it's kind of the same thing a little bit. Yeah. All right.
Do you have any more thoughts for this discussion question?
I don't think so.
All right, cool. Hit me with what we watched and your succinct summaries.
Absolutely. Now, I fibbed. Last week we did an episode. I said that we were going to watch the Splash Star special. We did not have the time to watch the Splash Star special, so we don't have any thoughts on that. I'm sorry. What we watched was episodes 8 and 9 of all 3 seasons. Happiness Charge, Soaring Sky, Splash Star. So, the first one of those is Splash Star, canonically, and episode 8 was an episode in which the best character is here. His name is Moerumba. He's so cool. He's got this big, carnival kind of outfit, like a Rio kind of looking outfit, personality.
Ha-cha-cha-cha.
Ha-cha-cha-cha-cha.
Señorita.
And his element seems to be fire. I haven't been able to figure out. I guess the things he transforms are kind of fire-based. In the first episode, it was a toy at
It was one of those ridey horses at a playground.
right, which I assume is like made from clay, which I know there's some like baking or fire in the process of creating that, I guess. And then the next episode, it was traffic lights, which I guess lights are kind of like fire created from electricity.
Both of those have had metal in them.
Oh, maybe he's a metal bender. Okay. No, but what actually happens with the girls is that, hang on, I remember their names. Saki and her sister Minori, they get into a fight, and Mai tries to interfere, and Saki tells her to go to hell, basically, and Mai's like, oh, that was really hurtful, and then she runs off, and at the end of the episode, when it's time to fight, they can transform, no problem, but their spiritual power has gone away. They can't fight as hard as they normally can, and someone explains, probably Mipple or Meppel or Floof or Flaff or whatever the fairies' names are, one of them probably says, like, hey, you two need to kiss and make up. So as they're running from this giant's fireballs, they're talking about, like, oh, I was just trying to protect Minori's feelings, and the other one's like, well, I was just trying to be a good big sister, and they're like, oh my god, we both care about Minori, and then they get their powers back and they do a really big punch.
Minori almost dies.
Minori does almost die.
They come together to stop the almost dying, and they go, Futari wa sisters.
Absolutely. And then, in the next episode, it's about the class representatives. I want to say president. Representatives. There's a girl who's really competent, and there's a boy who's really like, oh, guys, I'm sorry. Could I be a better class rep? Could you guys listen to me, please?
His voice is exactly like that.
And the episode is about him getting his groove back, and the younger girl, or not the younger girl, the competent girl teaching her what responsibility means. The girls help put on a puppet show, and when I say help put on, I mean they help plan, because they aren't there for the actual puppet show. They get attacked by a sentient traffic light monster. But Mai also creates panda and fox bread for the children, which is super cute, and I like that. I like that a lot. But that was it for Splashdar.
Next up, we've got to charge up your happiness.
Absolutely. Remind me, what was the first episode the fortune teller?
Festival fortune teller, yep.
Okay. So in the first episode, there's a festival that celebrates a thing that happened 1,000 years ago. Blue, what did you do? And the girls are all excited to go. They get their fortune told by the super powerful upperclassman. I don't know if she's an upperclassman or in the same class as them, but another student at the school who's just competent in all the things, which, as we all know, is definitely what makes you a purple cure. But she tells them their fortune, and the fortune is basically, oh, you two are... There's nothing you can do. Just leave town. You're going to die someday. And they decide that they're going to continue fighting the bad guys anyways, even though they got this really bad fortune. A new general shows up, Oreski. He's also pretty cool. Oh, Reski! Oh, Reski!
I'm in his fan club. It's only 800 yen a month.
No, 800 yen a year, I think. That's pretty cheap if you think about it.
Absolutely.
But a new general shows up, and he creates some pretty powerful Terrabads that the girls can't defeat on their own. And then who shows up but Cure Fortune? She shows up to remind us that she exists. She defeats the bad guys, and then she tells Megami, hey, if you continue to be friends with Hime, she will betray you, and you will get your shit kicked in. And also, you two are so... And Megami's like, why would she use that exact same phrase? I heard that back at the fortune. That's so weird. Do you think, what civilian identity could she possibly have? But that's the end of that episode. The beginning of the next episode, the girls are sad because they got their butts kicked, and they got this fortune that they're both so... LOL. And so they decide that they're going to learn karate. First, they decide that they're going to take up running, and they run into Yo-Yo, and she's like...
They run into who?
They run into Yo-Yo. Yu-Yu?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yu-Yu. Yo-Yo is from Soaring Sky.
Okay, they run into Yu Yu Hakusho, who's just been revived from the dead because they threw the egg into the fire to save the child, I think is how he comes back the first time. Anyways.
Oh my god, his name is Yu-Yu because Yusuke Urameshi. It's a JoJo's reference.
I mean, it's similar to JoJo's, yes.
Yeah, anyway.
It's also how all Yu-Gi-Oh protagonists have Yu-Gi as their name or their abbreviation.
Amazing.
But Yu tells them that sometimes it's better to try to, like, go for endurance than it is to go, like, all out. And the two girls goes, no, we're gonna go all out. And then they get, like, a quarter of a mile, and then they just collapse. And like, oh, damn it, who could have predicted this? And you in the background's like, I did. Then they go to a karate dojo, which has the same upperclassman, Hikawa. She's there, and she's super good at everything. How is she so competent at everything? And why is her hair so purple, just like Kira Fortune's hair? The girls want to learn powerful, like, bone-breaking attacks, and instead they're taught this, like, defense move, and Hime's like, I don't want to learn defense.
Wax on, wax off.
Yes. Left, right, left, right.
Keep doing it till your body remembers it.
So they learn a bunch of defensive moves, and Hime's getting frustrated. She wants to learn, again, just like some bone-breaking. She wants to learn the Kamehameha wave. Areski shows up again. They're fighting. They're not doing a very good job. They can't defeat the Terabad. Just when all hope is lost, who shows up? Not Cure Fortune, but Cure Honey?
Who?
A new Cure who starts playing an instrument and starts singing a song. No, she doesn't play an instrument. She just sings a song about how rice is nice. And that revives the girls, that gives them their strength back. It almost purifies Areski, too. Areski gets into it. He's like, what am I singing?
All of them sing. Yeah.
All of them get into it. And then Honey goes, all right, I gotta go, but remember your training. And they go, oh my gosh. And they use the defensive techniques in order to wear out down the Terabad, and then they deliver the final blow. And that ends the episode. Also, we definitely need to talk about it. It wasn't relevant to the succinct summaries, but we find out that there are international cures all throughout the world in this episode. Soaring Sky, it's actually kind of fortunate that we kind of, like, didn't record an episode when 8 came out, because it turns out that it's the first legitimate two-parter in the series. We've had a couple of other episodes where Telemon has said, like, this feels like a two-parter, but each one of them had their own distinct Zetsubo, except maybe the first episode was a two-parter as well. But anyways, my point is, it literally ends with the girls charging off to fight the Randborg, and then the next episode ends with them defeating the Randborg. So it's a legitimate 1 hour double feature episode. There's a bird that is also a boy, and a boy who can transform into a bird. Who's been living at Yo-Yo's house, eating all of their food, living in the walls.
That's the bird watch.
That's where the bird watch was. And Sora starts to get suspicious that there's someone coming in to do something with Elle. Maybe kidnap her. Maybe kill her. I don't know. Maybe rearrange her friends' DVDs so that they're not from season 1 to season whatever. It's like 1, 4, 9, 3, 2. And it's just like, who does that? Who organizes your friends' DVD sets that way? But then she finds out that it's this bird. And at first she doesn't really, she's just trustful of the bird. And then the bird goes, listen, I can't fly. And I've wanted to fly my entire life. And Sora's moved to tears. And she goes, all right, bird, you're all right in my book.
You're all right in my bird book? My bird book?
I'll give that to you. You're on thin ice. Careful with your next one. Your next one better be a killer pun.
Yes, sir. Wait, but he's not in Precure. He's in One Piece.
He's also in JoJo's Adventure Part 4, Diamond is Unbreakable, I think. But, no, wait. Yeah, Diamond Unbreakable is Part 4. You are distracting me. But then Kabanon shows up, and he creates a giant flying saucer, and the girls go off to charge it, and this bird boy, despite having 7 episodes where he could have tried to protect Elle, he decides that this is the episode where he wants to protect Elle, so he charges into battle, but he's just a small bird and or a small boy. What can he possibly do? But then he believes in himself, and he becomes Cure Wing, the first fully fledged boy Precure. He defeats the flying saucer, or damages it enough that the girls can finish it off, and then the day is saved. And those have been your Succinct Summaries!
Succinct Summaries! Those were incredible Succinct Summaries.
Don't lie to me. They were adequate. They were okay. But I've done better.
They were long.
They were pretty long.
Longer than they were succinct. But I'm proud of you for doing your best. Now listen, I know we usually do these in order.
Yeah.
But I want to throw something out there about Soaring Sky, just right off the top.
Okay.
I do not approve of teaching children that they can fly if they want it bad enough. Because my father broke his arm that way as a child. He saw Mary Poppins, and he was like, you can fly if you jump off a roof with an umbrella. So he jumped off the roof and it didn't work. And it was only a small roof. So he was like, the problem was that I wasn't up high enough. So he got on the barn and he jumped off the barn and he broke his arm.
Incredible.
I can see other children being like, Tsubasa eventually flew after throwing himself off enough cliffs.
See, but I think what you're missing is that in both cases, there was an element of extra dimensional energy being transferred. So you have a magic baby giving him the power to fly, and then you have a magic umbrella given to her by either being the same type of demon as Pennywise the Clown, or being a Time Lord like the Doctor.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying children aren't smart enough to go, that's magic.
Yeah, they should have like a little preview at the beginning, like, children, please do not fly. This only works because he's a small little mochi bird thing.
Absolutely. Joel, let's go back to the order in which we typically discuss things. Did you like Splash Star this week?
These weeks, I am kind of bored of Splash Star. I've been kind of hesitant to say so because I keep being like, I want to see the glimmer of hope that's in the series. And Saki and Mai are better characters than Nagisa and Hanuka. Nagisa would never bake bread for a classmate to celebrate a tearful goodbye. But she's Saki. No, Saki, oh no! It's breaking down! Saki is more of a character.
I can tell you're putting your all into this final episode before our brief or long hiatus.
Our indefinite hiatus. However, even if I don't really like the day-to-day, like, normal character stuff that's going on, even if I want that to be a little bit more spiced up, the two things that I will appreciate is that Moerumba is finally here. AU has been teasing about, like, oh, if you like fire characters, I think you'll really like a character who shows up. And I actually saw him in one of the All-Stars movies, the one that we watched where they all got trapped in a dream for happiness charge. He and all of the other generals are outside Ponpaka Pond. And so, like, I saw him from behind, I went, that hair looks awfully fiery.
Yeah, remember when you thought he was going to be a big booby lady?
I thought he was going to be,
and
absolutely.
instead he has a David Bowie crotch bulge, which I also find deeply disturbing.
They're corrupting our youth. But no, fire is my favorite element, and sometimes if I attach to a character, I will like them no matter their flaws. So whether or not Moerumba is an idiot, or not very strong, or silly, or effeminate, who cares? He's a fire dude, he's flamboyant, I like him.
He's got great energy. I'm digging his vibes.
He does have wonderful energy. Wait, hang on. There's one other thing that I really like. I'm sorry that I'm hogging up so much of the oxygen. I really like that we're getting this sort of, like, their power is their bonds. We had an episode where they weren't getting along and they weren't able to use their spiritual energy. And in the next two episodes, when they start, like, remembering their promises to each other and, like, what makes them Precure, they get a powerful, like, glow to them. And I think that all Precure get stronger from their bonds, but I like that this season is the one that draws explicit attention to it.
I think this season does the best job at relating the girls' powers to their personal strengths and relationships.
Absolutely.
Compared to the other seasons we're watching this season.
that sentence makes sense. It just doesn't sound like it should.
Yeah, it just doesn't sound right. Anyway, not to get distracted. Like you said, Soaring Sky is the most slice of life of the seasons we're watching right now. And I like this season. I like it better than Futari wa, but I'm just not really here for a slice of life show. I'm here for bright colors and big explosions and cool music. Wow.
Okay.
So I enjoyed these episodes. The Minori one was interesting as an older sister because I kind of felt like this show went out of its way to be like, Saki did the wrong thing actually, but no, Saki was right. Saki was completely in the right. Her little sister was careless and annoying.
I will say that, now back me up here, you have the psychology degree. I do feel as though there is a not correct, but a most productive way to point out when someone is doing something that is frustrating or annoying or harmful that gets them to do the behavior less. And do you think that Saki's method of screaming at her sister was the correct way to go about it?
Yeah, I guess when I say Saki was in the right, she didn't go about correcting the things that were bothering her correctly. Mm-hmm. Another sentence that makes sense but doesn't sound right. But Mai shouldn't have interfered. Like, it wasn't really her place to say anything in that dynamic. She didn't have enough information or any of Saki's, learning history with her sister. And so I did feel like Mai was intruding a little bit. And so Saki's frustration made sense to me. And I feel like it was kind of painted as her being unreasonable.
Okay. Yeah, I basically would say that I think I don't know if heart is the right word, but her intentions were in the right place because Minori is knocking things over. She did destroy a painting or picture, sketch, I guess is the right word, that Mai had done. So Minori was definitely messing up. I think Saki went too far in the direction of overcorrecting, and whether or not Mai was correct to interject, Saki was kind of like overly like, get the out, even though like, that's your friend, man. That's your girlfriend. Don't yell at her like that. So I liked parts of it. I think it could have been done better. I think it was well written for the target audience, and I really do appreciate that Mai already sees herself as Minori's older sister, and Minori even calls her Onage-san at one point, so like she sees Mai as the older sister too. I think that's neat.
That is pretty cute.
I found it kind of weird that the show was like, yeah, little siblings always try to do right by the older siblings. I've never had younger siblings. You have, and you have cousins who have like older and younger brothers. Is it necessarily true that the younger sibling is always trying to do their best by the older sibling?
No.
Do you feel? Oh, okay.
No. When I was a kid, one of my friends literally caught my siblings scheming on how they could get us in trouble. Like just sitting in the basement being like, if we do this and then we start crying, mom and dad will get mad and yell at them.
My uncle is younger than my mom, and I can tell you that he was a little hellion when he was a child. And so like, I don't know if he necessarily antagonized my sister, his sister, my mom, but I definitely don't think that he was necessarily trying to look good so it would reflect well on her. But maybe that's a Japanese culture thing.
Maybe. Here's the thing about younger siblings, right? Your first child, you are like on it, right? But then you get tired because it's a marathon, not a sprint. And then you have more and you're like, I'm not dealing with this. So the younger ones pretty much get to run wild. And the younger they are, the lower they are in the family hierarchy, the more wild they get to run.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. It's all about wearing down the parents' defenses.
Exactly. So my babyest sister was the fourth child in the family, technically. So can you imagine how tired my parents were by the time they got to her?
I'm sorry, she was the fourth child in the family, technically. Greg doesn't count.
That's why we keep him in the attic. But anyway, the other episode I feel like highlighted another strength of Splash Star, which is that all of the side characters feel pretty well-rounded to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I really enjoyed that. I thought that the mom who was like, my son is really selfish because he asked his friend to read him another book, like, that's a little harsh. He's like 2.
Yeah, that mom was a weird character, and I'm glad that we didn't really get a focus on her. She was mad that her young child wanted to have a book read to him. And then in the next episode, when they basically read a book to him, they don't read a book. They do a puppet show, but the puppet show represents his time at the library and his friends and all this other stuff. She's in tears, and it's like, yes, that's why he was sad yesterday. What is wrong with you? It's so hard on children when you move, I say, assuming, as someone who lived only in one house growing up.
I can tell you that the entire flight from England back to the States when I was little, I just like sobbed the whole way because I was so upset over moving.
Oh my gosh, you were a pip-pip governor? Were you really?
What?
You were a pip-pip governor when you were younger? I think you can parse what I'm saying.
I understand what you're saying. I just don't understand.
Do you have some chips for me? Some chips and fish?
I still had an English accent when I moved here. And I still used English words for things as opposed to American English. And so like I mentioned something about jacket potatoes to one of my friend's moms, and they still to this day, I'm 30 now. I was 8 then, and they're still laughing about it. They still bring it up.
That's just one of those things. That's actually a really fascinating segue into Happiness Charge about talking about like international like stereotypes and cultures and stuff like that. Do you have anything else on Splash Star?
I don't think so. I think we can move on.
Okay.
Is Moerumba living up to all your expectations? You kind of indicated that he is.
Moerumba is pretty good. The alternate title for this podcast episode was going to be He's Here, He's Finally Here, and I wanted it to be a reference to Moerumba and Oreski over Tsubasa, but I wasn't sure if people would get that. And also, I don't want to be mean to the Tsubasa fans. They are many, and they have much mochi that they're going to throw at me. Bird-shaped mochi.
Yeah, they will aggressively turn into a ball and roll down a hill at you.
Have you ever seen an angry peacock? That's what they do. They just kind of strut, and they puff themselves up, and you're like, no, please.
Oh man, birds are scary. I was mobbed by ducks yesterday. They thought I had some treats for them. I don't, ducks.
I'm pretty
Back
sure
off.
one of them had a gun. Feared for my duck. No.
Hey, you should use your platform to stand up for things that matter to you. So if you're going to feed ducks, which you shouldn't, please don't feed them bread because it can make them sick and cause them to get bacteria in their stomach. Please consider feeding them peas or other grains. Anyway.
I literally this morning listened to an old episode of Piecemeal where they talked about not feeding ducks and how you should give them frozen peas or grapes that have been cut in half. What is time? It's a flat circle.
And I wasn't even listening to that.
You
So it's not like
Okay.
amazing. You're going to have to send just this clip to the Piecemeal folks and be like, look what we did accidentally.
Absolutely.
Listen, he's here, Oreski.
Yes.
I'm in love with him. I love me a terrible man.
So should we start with him? Should we start with Oreski? He's here.
Yeah, let's do it.
So I didn't realize that Namakelder was supposed to represent Sloth the first time he showed up. And I think he demonstrates that more the longer the series goes on, to be honest. But he's a lazy guy who just wants to kind of lays around. I need to get a thesaurus. But, that's his character trait. That's his flaw.
Where are you going to find a dinosaur in the year 2023?
Ha ha ha. At a museum, dummy. And then the next, please do not refer to your wives as dummies unless you know that they know that you know that you're joking. I think that sentence made sense. But, he was lazy. And then when the horrible woman showed up, what's her name? Hoshiwa. When she showed up, it was very obvious that she was kind of selfish, but she was kind of is there a specific form of selfishness?
Narcissistic?
Yeah, I don't know. Just kind of, narcissistic. It's all about her. Oreski shows up, and he makes it clear that he also could fit nicely into the 7 deadly sins, and he is clearly pride. He wears a medal that he made himself, and he requests that he is given another medal if he succeeds in defeating the Precure.
And Queen Bee is like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, whatever it takes to get you to fight the Precure, you fucking psycho. I have been swearing a lot this episode, but whatever.
It's our podcast.
Our podcast.
Balls.
Anyways, what do you like about him? Or have you already covered it?
He's real stupid. Like, you can tell the only thing going on in his head is, haha, I'm strong. Like, I bet every morning he puts on his uniform and he straightens his hat and he looks in the mirror and he goes, hello. Yes, look at me. Look at me. Look at my medal. It's so shiny today. I'm going to earn 3,000 more medals. And then he goes out there and he messes it up and he's like, tomorrow is my day.
Yeah, that's the problem with these villains is they're all like so self-absorbed. He acknowledges, he's like, oh, I like that strength in the second episode we watched to the person who gets Zetsubot or whatever. And I like that. That's actually kind of neat. Except he does it by cheating. He's like, I'll just kill all of the other karate people and then you'll be the strongest. It's like, no, Oreski, not like that.
It doesn't work like that, Oreski. She doesn't want that victory.
But yeah, I would comfortably put him in with the likes of it was Cobra Jockey, right? Was the one that I liked. There were 2 from that season.
There was Kobraja and there was Kumajaki.
Okay.
You liked Kumajaki.
I liked Kumajaki. Kobraja had his funny moments, but I didn't imprint on him the way I did.
Right.
But,
Kobrajaki was their ship name.
Oh, I see. Yes, absolutely. When they sailed the high seas together. Because Precure has never had gay subtext ever.
Never.
Subtext.
I hear what you're trying to say. I need you to move on.
Okay. But he can fit in with Graves from Kira Kira, and he can fit in with Kumajaki from whichever season that was. And so I like him. I think he's pretty neat. I'm curious to see if he ever breaks. And the chances are he won't. But I would love an episode where he's beaten for like the 6th time and he's finally like, am I not enough? Because Kumajaki had that. Kumajaki had a training montage when he got defeated so many times where he's like, I need to get stronger. And I want that from him. If he doesn't have that, then he's just a B tier good boy.
Absolutely. Man, the villains in Heartcatch were so good. Do you remember their moment where they took like their final stand and they like had the hero's moment where it's the, I'll hold them off, you keep going.
Yes.
Ah!
And then they kissed.
They didn't.
Ah. Anyway.
But in fanfic, people can kiss as much as we want.
Okay.
Going into, whether we liked these episodes or not, I kind of liked episode 8, but I kind of didn't.
So you liked that was the festival episode?
Yes.
Okay.
Episode 8 introduced 2 concepts that I think are really neat. The first is that there are Precure around the world. We see a team called Bomber Girl Precure out of America.
Out of Texas specifically.
Which has a girl in a cowboy hat. That's amazing.
Sure.
We see Cure Art, who appears to be in France, and she has this giant, paintbrush wand.
And this is great. We have a note from AU, and I'm trying to sprinkle her commentary throughout the episode because we just had so many, fan letters or whatever. But apparently there's people in the crowd who say, Merci, Precure, thank you, Precure, because they're in France. And the fandom were like, oh, that must be her team name because we just got Bomber Girl Precure or whatever. So this must be the Mercy Precure. And that wasn't actually canon, but later it was made canon. That is the team name that Cure Art is from.
Absolutely. And then we see South Asian Precure called Wonderful Net Precure who attack using calculators.
That one felt a little weird.
That was a little odd. Yeah, we'll get into it. But I think that's a cool concept. They also introduced the idea that Blue has no idea where Fortune came from.
That's absolutely true. I thought you were going to mention a different detail.
He made Cure Princess and Cure Lovely.
Yes.
Those were his magic god gems.
Mm-hmm.
But the rest of them just sort of showed up. Very curious to see if the show explores that further.
So we only know for sure that Cure Fortune didn't come from Blue's power. He was like, yeah, I'm not taking, responsibility for that. But I'm curious if he would say that he's responsible for the Mercy Precure and the WonderNet Precure and the Bomber Precure or whatever.
Bomber Precure is such a badass name.
It is.
I love it.
But so we definitely know at least one Cure is not connected to Blue in any way. I'm curious if Honey is connected to Blue in any way. Wouldn't that be funny if there was a god who created another Precure but didn't tell the other 2 Precure? Blue, what's up with you? What's going on there, buddy?
Yeah, so we know that the fandom hates Blue. That's some foreknowledge that we've got. And AU said something a couple weeks ago about haha, you guys haven't even gotten close to the reason why the fandom hates Blue.
Wait, can I cover this?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so they're going to this festival. It's a festival episode. Every season has a festival episode. Usually it's closer to episode 25. I'll take an early festival episode. Hime, not being from the town, goes, what's this now? And Megami says, this is a festival to celebrate 1,000 years ago when a human girl attracted the eyes of God, so we have to dress pretty so that God will go hubba hubba and continue to protect us with his divine power. Blue, what the fuck is wrong with you? Get the fuck out.
You remember when Blue said love is illegal?
Yep.
I feel like maybe he caused Queen Mirage. I've mentioned that before because of the 2 of them in the opening. So maybe she was the Densetsu no girl that God fell in love with, and it wrecked everything. And God, maybe fall in love with someone your own age.
Or someone else who's a divinity, That's
the problem, right? Though he's the God, not a God.
That's absolutely true. Absolutely true. Maybe that's what Red is. Maybe Red was Blue trying to create another God that would love him, and then in all good AI stories, the child just went rampaging, and Blue was like, oh no. I did something wrong here. I already promised, according to the Bible, not to do another global flood, which would definitely kill the so I'm just gonna have to let some girls fight in my place to get rid of this evil demon.
Oh no. Oh gosh. Yeah, so, deities or magical creatures falling in love with teenage girls is a trope. It's a power fantasy for young women. I get all of that. As an older person, it's kind of like, yeah. So
it's kind of like when there's discussion about younger girls falling in love with older guys in different seasons of Precure. We even saw it with Splash Star. We're going to see it when we eventually get to Hugtail, I've been told. And I kind of am willing to defend it a little bit so long as the older person doesn't show interest, because a lot of people when they're that age do develop crushes on older people in their lives. But that doesn't mean that shows should reciprocate that, and maybe we don't even have to show it as often as Precure seems to want to.
Absolutely.
What do you think is the line between representing another culture respectfully and doing it in a yikes way, in a Roblox kind of way?
I think... Okay, so disclaimer, because I don't want to deal with angry internet people. You know, we are both basically white people, right?
Sure.
And so our opinions on this aren't necessarily reflective of other people's opinions of this. But like the Texan Precure, right? In her cowboy hat. I didn't find that offensive because it was a stereotype. And they didn't seem to be mocking her. It just seemed to be like, we are trying to represent this huge group of people. How can we like distill down the essence
What's
of that?
the shorthand for representing this area?
Exactly. I feel like it's easy to do that badly if you don't have any like actual empathy or experience with the group that you're representing. I don't think Precure entirely crossed the line here into offensive, but I think that they could, right? If they weren't careful and if they played up those things as a joke. Like if our happiness charge girls were to meet the South Asian girls and be like, haha, you like math? That's ridiculous or something. I don't know. Or if like they could only do math and they didn't have any manners or social skills. That I would be like, that's a little far, don't you think, Toei? But
Absolutely.
as it is, just them liking math doesn't seem to me to be a bad thing.
Okay. Now here's something interesting, and I just gotta bring it up because I really do not like this author, but J.K. Rowling has a character who's from Ireland, and his name is something like Seamus McMamus or something like it's really obvious that she was like, what's the most Irish name I can come up with? And he's not good at magic, and the one thing that he's constantly doing is causing explosions. And in real world politics, there's a group of people that people don't really like from Ireland. Some people don't like, some people do like, right? It's complicated. I'm not going to get into it.
There is a terrorist group that blows up cars.
Yeah. So there's some obvious connections there, and people really don't like Rowling for doing that. I don't like Rowling for doing that. I don't get the impression that Texas has that same kind of history, as far as I know. I don't know of the politics of Texas. So, like, calling them bomber girls is a little strange, but both AU and James pointed out, like, oh, that's a little weird. And James is from the area, or he's lived there before, and so, like, I trust that if he thinks it's oof, I agree. Like, I'm like, okay, I'll step aside and I'll just let James speak. But the thing that kind of got me going, was that we also had a Native American Precure, and, like, she didn't have any speaking lines, she didn't say anything, but, like, that is a kind of... That's an iffy area for a lot of us. And if it turns out that, like, she can't speak English very well, but she has mystic powers, like, I'm gonna go Precure, what the f***?
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
I think that's fair, you know? Overall, I don't think they were doing any of this from a place of malice, I guess is what I was trying to say. Whereas... when you bring up J.K. Rowling, like, the Irish thing, there was definitely some malice there. There's still a lot of attitudes in England about, like, haha, those lesser Irish people.
Mm-hmm. There's a freaking black character whose name is something Shacklebolt. Like, what the hell? What is wrong with you?
Right.
Anyways, this is not a Harry Potter podcast.
But you see what I mean? Like, you can see a clear line between stereotypes done out of malice and stereotypes done out of ignorance. Sure. And I'm not going to be angry at someone for being ignorant. I'm just going to be like, hey, maybe you could try this thing, Mr. Toei, next time I get to sit down and have coffee with you.
I hope that if they ever do another international Precure kind of situation, I hope that it's a little bit more nuanced. And I honestly, to me, that feels like the line in this world of people debating about what is or is not cancel culture and what is or is not appropriate. I think that if someone makes a mistake that's not heinous, we should have the grace to let them try again. But if they mess up 2 or 3 times after they've had enough time to be like kind of get feedback from the community that would be most affected, at that point, I have no more sympathy for you. Like you messed up multiple times when you had the chance to do better, and that's what frustrates me. So we'll see if other Precure seasons do better or worse in that area, I think.
Absolutely. One final thought I have about it, stereotypes are weird because, like, the French Precure, she's all about art, which is a French stereotype, but none of us are upset because we're like, that's a positive thing.
Yes.
And, like, the math and technology, to me, is a positive thing. And, there's cultural context. Like AU said, a lot of immigration out of India to Japan is for tech stuff. And so maybe there's nuance there that I'm not getting. But to me, that's also a positive thing just because of our current focus on STEM and STEM careers. So I don't know. It's nuanced, like you said, but it doesn't upset me. I'm not going to go like, why did you do that?
Yeah, I'm not about to boycott Precure, but I don't know. I get the feeling that more should be done, but I don't know what that more is. And I'm willing to listen to other people who have ideas for what they could have done to better represent the different...
If you were going to do a, like, Seattle-based Precure team, would you have one of them be, like, a barista, and they'd be, like, the grungy Cures?
The grunge Cures? I mean, maybe, yeah.
When they show up, their team music is just Nirvana's "Smells Like Teen Spirit."
Smells like Precure.
Here we are now. We're the Precure.
But yeah, no, so I wanted to acknowledge that there are people who are uncomfortable with these depictions, and we've been told that apparently there's a worse thing coming up this season with another team that we either haven't seen, or when they get speaking lines, they see something horrendous, they just like get up on the mic and they just say slurs, we go, oh no.
Yeah, I reserve the right, if that happens, to take it back, what I said about it not being malicious.
Your opinions are only on these first 9 episodes or whatever. So.
Absolutely. But yeah, like... The Native American girl, cowboys and Indians is something children play, right? Whether or not it's like the most modern thing, they do. And so I think this was more of an homage to that than it was any actual specific culture.
Yeah, absolutely.
So...
Listen, if the Native American Precure comes down with smallpox, we know who to point the finger at. It's one of the other two. But until that happens...
Man, I don't think that happened in Texas. I think that was New England.
What?
Yeah, because there's different Native American tribes, right? And so the ones...
So I had a really dumb moment. Are you prepared to hear how stupid your husband is?
I'm ready.
I thought you were saying that there were Native Americans that died in England, in London. And I was like, what the are you talking about? But it was me. I was the one who was wrong. And I apologize for that.
Wrong. It's okay. I forgive you. Moving on to
Let's talk about Precure.
Yeah. Moving on to episode 9. Well, this is kind of 8 and 9. Fortune is so gosh dang hostile.
She is.
Like, she's just unpleasant. And I get that Hime did something to her because Hime is kind of selfish and she's kind of a coward, and it seems like this whole thing is her fault, maybe.
Somehow, yeah.
But at the same time, like, Fortune, just mind your own business. Like, you didn't have to give them a mean fortune. You did that because of personal reasons.
Yeah, you saw Hime and you went into attack mode. It was on site with this. I'm curious if it's going to be something that's actually relatable or if it's going to be something really dumb. Is it going to be something where we see the episode about what happened between Hime and Fortune, and I'm going to go, oh no, this is a tragedy on par with Shakespeare or something, right? Is it going to be one of those situations, or is it going to be something like, ever since I was little, I wanted to bake the perfect cupcake, and one time I made a cupcake and Hime took a bite and she went, it could be better, and it broke my heart. Because Precure sometimes does things like that too. They have episodes where you're supposed to feel bad for a character and I don't feel it personally. But it seems like they are building up to some big secret, and I'm curious what it was. Hime seems to know what she did was wrong. She kind of avoids the question about like, oh, do you know that Precure? Do you know who she is? Are you friends with her? Ribbon helps her change the subject too, so Ribbon must also know whatever the frick it was. I assume that Ribbon and Blue are, for some reason, ride or die with Hime, and that's why Fortune is separate from the others, but I don't know.
Yeah. But other than that, like, I guess we can move on to 9. Did you like the karate episode?
Wait. Hime is still learning how to be friends with people. There's 4 other classmates who seem to know Seiji maybe, or like I don't know. They show up and they're just kind of like, Hime, we've really wanted to be your friend for a while. And they get along really good with Megami, but every time they acknowledge Hime, she like hides behind Megami.
She does this little spin behind Megami and goes like,
yeah, it's so weird. I don't know what that was. But I really appreciate that, like, yes, Hime is a shy girl. Yes, she has made 2, maybe 3 friends, depending on if you count Seiji and Yu, but she's still not great with new people, but they were able to win their way into her heart by offering her food because Hime is just a cat.
Yep.
She literally has a moment in one of these episodes, I think it was 9, where she gets cat eyes as she steals one of Yu's, not steals, but takes one of Yu's offered candies. So, but you know, people don't get over their shyness immediately. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Well, and I didn't like Fluttershy when I was into My Little Pony, right? Because her shyness just got annoying. And I could never put my finger on exactly what it was, but they do a really good job in Happiness Charge of demonstrating, like, the selfishness attached to it and the cowardice. Whereas other seasons are just like, this person is shy and that's fine. It doesn't affect them or the people around them in any meaningful way.
Yeah, I mean, I can see what you're saying. I think my personal... We're now a My Little Pony podcast, by the way. I think my personal thing with Fluttershy is it seemed like there were a lot of episodes where she'd learned to assert herself in a non-aggressive way. That was specifically one of the episodes, was how to not be mean when asserting yourself. And then she'd go back to being shy again. It's like, but you had an episode of growth. You're not static. This isn't a sitcom. You're supposed to be changing, throughout the season. So that was my personal take on why Fluttershy was a little annoying. If you like Fluttershy, that's fine. You're valid. I love you. But... yeah, Hime is showing that it takes time to get over that and that it can be kind of annoying, but also sometimes people offering a friendly hand is all that other person needs.
Absolutely. She takes a bite of everyone else's snacks because she doesn't have enough money for every snack that she wants, but then she buys a very large snack from Yu and she breaks it into pieces to share with everyone.
Yes, you and I both said like, oh, thank goodness. She actually offered a piece of her food, because if not, we would be calling her out on this podcast right now with the, sound effect.
Hey, you told me that I was supposed to call it the Vine Boom sound effect.
Yeah,
and you said I sounded like an old person if I called it the sound effect.
Well, that was weeks ago.
So now you have to die.
Whoa! Okay. Karate episode, it was all right. It's one of those episodes where I feel like the moral is obvious from the very beginning, but that's true of a lot of media, made for children. But yeah, Hime wants to learn like some really cool karate type moves, and when they tell her to take it easy, she doesn't trust the people who have been doing martial arts for all this time. But then in the end, they learn a lesson. I love Cure Honey's Rice song. It is so dumb and so wonderful, and it fills me with warmth.
I've been waiting for it. I've been waiting for it this whole season, and I didn't think we were going to get it like this. Where did she come from?
I will say that is one thing about both Cure Fortune and Cure Honey. I'm very curious as to why they only showed up when they did. Cure Fortune especially, she's an active pre-cure, but only shows up in the first episode, and in one of the mid-episodes, she kind of saw the Precure fighting and was like, there's 2 other Precure or whatever. And then this episode, she showed up to save them. But, like, what's she doing in all the episodes where they're fighting a Terabad and she didn't show up? Like, why does she only show up sometimes? That's sus. Honey, I'm willing to believe she only just got her Precure powers, at which point I want to know why now, what did she do, and I also want to know, like, what her driving motivation to becoming a Precure is.
What if Blue did make Cure Honey because he saw Yu feeding Hime, and what if he was like, hey man, I'll give you Precure powers, don't interfere with these stupid girls, but babysit them a little bit, yeah. And if they need you to intervene.
Okay, I really like that. I like the idea that she's somehow pieced together that they're the Precure, but she hasn't told them. but I wish that she would give even like the slightest hint. If she just had like one eyebrow raise when the Terabad showed up and Megami ran off or something, I'd appreciate it 10 times more.
Absolutely. I also like that she is embodying the grand tradition of magical idols.
Yes. Mm-hmm. No, you said that, oh, no, never mind. You called her hostile earlier. I know when we were watching the episodes, you really liked Kier Fortune's outfit. And I think it's a great outfit, but I think Honey's might be my favorite from this season.
Honey is super cute. I love her hair.
Yes.
Are we ready to move on to Soaring Sky?
I think so.
All right. Did you like these episodes?
Don't come after me. No.
Oh.
I don't like the timid character archetype. And Hime is a little bit different because she has her moments where she comes out of her shell and she has like star eyes and whatever, and she and Megami are legitimately good friends. I love seeing them on screen together. But Tsubasa is kind of a wimp, and he's kind of supposed to be a wimp, and you're supposed to feel sorry and you're supposed to want to protect him. And then when he has his moment where he becomes strong enough to be the protector, you're supposed to be like, oh yeah, but like the same way that I sometimes imprint on a character and nothing you tell me can make me dislike them, sometimes I just have an immediate disliking for a character and nothing you say will make me appreciate them better. A la Rarity from My Little Pony. And I'm sorry for that. It's just who I am. So I didn't feel super bad for his situation, and I was more interested in the combo attack situation with Sora and Mashiro as they try to figure out how to punch this thing flying in the sky. I thought that was way cooler.
Yes, and for me, you have to earn your pre-cure moment.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really like Tsubasa. I think he's cute. I think he has a good dream. I'm glad that he's committed to it. He's nice to Elle.
Who has heard of a bird studying airplanes? Like, that is a pretty unique idea.
Right, he gives me big Tails the Fox vibes, and Tails the Fox historically was my favorite Sonic character, him and Knuckles.
Okay.
But all of that aside, we had 4 episodes with Mashiro before she became Cure Prism. And that was at the very end of episode 4. And then in the next episode, she had her proper debut. With Tsubasa, we went from meeting him to he's a pre-cure immediately. And I would have liked if in previous episodes we'd seen other hints of him helping Elle or being, watchful.
You could have in One Piece, this is a One Piece podcast now, there's a moment when they're leaving Twin Capes and Crocus is watching them go, and he's kind of sort of talking. He's not a Force ghost, but he's kind of addressing the late Gold D. Roger. But he says, he has kind of an interesting aura, don't you think, Roger? And, you get this hint that, he knows more than he's letting on. Could you imagine if one of the episodes when Sora and Mashiro left to go fight Kabaton, if Yo-Yo had said, don't you want to help them? To a mysterious figure in the shadows. That would be way cooler.
Right, exactly. So as it is, it didn't feel earned, necessarily. I do think First Boy Precure is super cool. I know a lot of people were like, oh, it's a bird, it's not a real boy. But I think he counts as a real boy. He says,
if Pinocchio counts, this bird counts.
Right, and this boy has a dream bird boy. This bird has a boy dream. I don't know, I really like him. I like that he's here due to his own agency.
Yes.
He's not stuck here in exactly the same way Sora is. He is stuck, but because he didn't want to leave anyway, so they haven't made any effort towards sending him home. Because he's studying this world science. He has ended up in a place where he can fulfill his dream. And maybe that's Sora, too. Maybe she happened to end up in this city because this is the best place for her to achieve her dream of being a hero.
Yeah, maybe. Here's the thing, though.
Where is it?
It's right underneath my seat, and it's under your seat, too. We all win a free car!
Oprah!
I like the idea that anytime anyone wins something from Oprah, that's the cry of exclamation, Oprah!
Have I ever sent you my favorite Oprah gif?
Is this an Oprah podcast
It's her doing the excited, throwing her hands in the air thing. Okay. But instead of saying, a prize or anything, the caption is, it's bees! And then bees are animated as coming out from under everyone's seat. It just makes me laugh.
I can picture that, and that's a very cat joke to make. But anyways, what was I saying? Oh, here's the thing. Here's the ha 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 ha. But Tsubasa I think it's Yo-Yo, specifically mentions that things from Skyland keep ending up in this city. What?
Yeah, anytime
what?
there's a big storm, it thins the border between worlds.
Yes. So, I mean, we've all played Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. Obviously, Skyline is just directly above Sora Shido's city, or whatever it's called, and that's why things keep falling between them, because it's this small little area. But there's this hidden concept of fate. They're not saying fate, although I think Yo-Yo's mentioned the word a couple of times, but it feels like there's something special about the city. And when we get to episode 38 and the evil bat has shown up and they're revealing their plans and they were actually Yo-Yo's twin sister all along, it'll turn out that there's something in the city that's important, just like we had with Delicious Party, right? I mean, it seems like it's going that way.
Absolutely. Well, and wasn't there something important in the city in Tropical Rouge, too? Not directly in the city, but there was, like, the Mermaid's Cave.
Yeah, there was. So, yeah, that's just a tradition in Precure this time, is, like, magical things end up in the city that the Precure are in, hence why the Precure are the Precure. If the Mermaid Cove had been, 50 kilometers south, that's right, we're in Japan, so we use kilometers now, then maybe it wouldn't have been Manatsu Natsumi. Maybe it would have been a girl named
Timely Jim.
Yes. Absolutely. I was trying to come up with a C pun and you ruined it. Sea Salt Sarah. That's their name. She would have become the new Precure, and she would have been Cure Salty.
Oh my god, Cure Salty is the unofficial mascot of this podcast.
Absolutely. Help me out here. Sora wanted to be a hero, so her hero moment was wanting to, like, protect people. I hit my head on a rock recently. What was Mashiro's kind of, like, driving force?
She wanted to help Sora.
Okay, so, like, one was protect and one was help, in a sense. Okay, Tsubasa seems to be self-sacrifice as his heroic trait, and, that bird threw himself off of a couple of cliffs in these episodes.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about his mental health, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because, and I'm sure they weren't going for this, but the scene of him deciding, like, I'm going to try to fly, even though he knows it's impossible because he's been, like, studying this in the best way that he can, where he just full on jumps off a cliff, like, that read as a self-harm attempt. Mm-hmm. Like, not blatantly, I'm not going to say that's what I'm doing, but deep down, that's what was happening.
That might be one of those things that we only read into it because we're an older audience, just like how sometimes we see romantic interest in certain character interactions, even though it's a show for kids and it's usually just really strong friendship. But friendship with an exclamation mark, but the exclamation mark is a rainbow. Anyways, Tsubasa seems to be self-sacrifice. Even when he's escaping with L, I didn't get the impression that it was, he would have died if he had fallen and he had landed on the ground in his regular human form, but that was also the thing that caused L to, like, reach out to him. Also, another mild criticism of this episode, I don't know if it's a criticism or an observation, I'd say L showed more heroic traits than Tsubasa did.
They kind of seem to be trying to protect each other.
Yeah.
I'd agree with that. I really like their bond. Like,
yes.
they seem to be a set, do not separate.
Oh my gosh! No, baby chicks, they imprint. This is literally imprinting. We make that joke all the time, especially because of Twilight, but this is, he imprinted on that baby. She's gonna feed her corn. No, Tsubasa, not like that. Humans eat with a spoon.
Oh no. I do like the parallelism of Sora declaring herself to be Mashiro's knight, and now he's declaring himself to be L's knight.
Yes.
That was very cute.
I love the bonding moments when Sora finally decided that she trusted this guy, that they now just, like, watch L with, like, bated breath, and they're just, like, so excited. And Mashiro's the dachshund, to use a Mistborn term.
Oh, like docs. I thought you meant, like, dachshund, the dog breed.
No, sorry.
I was like, what does that have to do with it?
Dachshund Kelsier's number 2.
Yes. Yeah, here's something to think about. So the pens appear in people's hearts when they demonstrate heroism.
But birds don't have hearts, because birds aren't real. Sorry,
that wasn't
what were you
where I was going. Keep your conspiracy theories off the podcast, kindly. Elle is the one who activates them with her Precure scream.
Yes.
So if there's a moment in the climax of this series where all of the people want to help the Precure, do you think they could all have the little pens appear in their heart and Elle could Precure scream all of them? Like, are we going to get another everyone's a Precure moment? I think we are.
Okay. Not as L is currently. We have seen other baby Precure that get stronger as the season goes on. We've even had Kome getting, like, more grown up, and maybe that's how L is going to work too. Maybe we'll get toddler L someday soon, but preschool L. But I think that if L is magically transformed into a more powerful form, I think her ability to precuritize people, deputize people as precure, will get stronger, and I could see her flying through the city and zapping people. Because she can only hit one person at a time, so, like, unless they had some kind of, like, disco ball that reflected the precure ray into the hearts of all the people. But I think that would be a wonderful send-off to the series, for sure.
Absolutely. Do you have any other Soaring Sky thoughts, questions, quick notes?
Sora and barked like a dog.
Yeah.
That was so incredible.
She was like...
She got angry, and she was, like, the most suspicious. That's another thing. I kind of wish that her distrust of Tsubasa was less like he could have kidnapped the baby, and more like, heroes don't lie, and you lied to me. That would explain her anger, and that would explain why Mashiro isn't as upset, because Mashiro doesn't have that as one of her core tenets, as one of her, help me out here, Stormlight.
Oh.
As one of her ideals that she's sworn. But anyways, it was not about lying. But she's sitting in the chair and she's getting angry and angrier, and someone tells her, like, aren't you overreacting? And she goes, "Bah!" And so, like, okay, Sora, good to see that you were raised in the wilderness and you retained some of your wild instincts.
Absolutely. Really quick note from Ayu. We find out Tsubasa is a bird from the Puni Puni tribe, and they traded the ability to fly for the ability to turn into humans. That's
pretty good trade, I'd say.
I'd say. Give some fingers, you know? But Puni Puni means squishy. That's why he looks like a little Mochi.
Oh, that does explain it. Oh, we also forgot to mention, after episode 8, it ended with Tsubasa being like, I'm gonna go protect L because she's in danger or whatever. And then episode 9 starts with him, like, jumping off of, not a high cliff. This isn't a self-harm cliff. This is just like a little cliff. But he can't fly anymore, and he goes, oh man. But a hero never gives up. So what does he do? Running around at the speed of sound. I'm a Mochi bird just rolling around now. So that was really cute and funny. That he turned into a ball that just rolled all the way to the...
Other quick notes. The music that opened episode 9 was really good. It went hard as heck.
It was incredible.
And Sora and Mashiro have matching trans flag PJs.
Yep, absolutely. They're not entirely trans flags. The shirt comportion is in whatever...
Did you say comportion?
Yeah, I think I was trying to say component and then change it to portion halfway through. Comportion. Comport yourself, madam. Their shirts are in whatever there is their color, so blue and pink, but then their skirts are the trans flag, because this series is telling us something. I don't know why, but it's telling us something. Also, I briefly mentioned it, but the girls did have to try to, like, combo attack the UFO, and so it involved both the girls jumping, and then they did the fairy tale kicking off of each other's feet thing, which might not have originated from fairy tale, but that's the first anime I ever saw that did it. But they used that to launch Sora even higher, and then they used, like, the prism blast to try to give her, like, extra lift. This is when you're playing a video game and you suspect there's something on the other side of an invisible wall, so you try to glitch the game or the physics engine in order to get over it, in order to get the item. That's what they did. And it's so good, because at the end of the episode, when Kabuton's trying to steal L back again with the tractor beam, or the vacuum beam, I think they called it, Sora finally manages to get the timing down right and hits the UFO so that its attack goes slightly askew and can't slorp L and Tsubasa. Yeah,
absolutely. And before we move on to our notes from the...
What do we Calls to Adventure?
Calls to Adventure, thank you. Before we move on to Calls to Adventure, I just want to say, I personally feel like Tsubasa and L together, and Tsubasa, like, overcoming and becoming a pure wing and flying finally, I think that could all be nominated for most touching moment or cutest moment, whatever we're calling it in the Precure Awards.
Okay.
So, just wanted to throw that out there.
L was super cute. Like, I feel more, and again, maybe this is just because I have some bias against Tsubasa. Maybe I hate the color orange with a passion, but I felt more moved by L's love of Tsubasa than I was by Tsubasa's love of L. But there's a part when, like, again, he tried to self-sacrifice. He tried to let go of her baby carriage so she could fly away to safety, and she psychicked him into place. And she's like reaching down to him, and she's crying. She doesn't want to see her bird friend fall. And that was really cute.
Man, the moment when her tear fell onto his face and then fell because her pain is his pain because he's her knight.
Yes,
that was fantastic.
That was wonderful. I cannot wait until we get Tsubasa carrying her around in a little baby carriage on his front.
Oh my gosh, if Tsubasa still just stays home and doesn't go to school,
he could be a nanny.
Now she has a nanny.
Absolutely. Yeah. A nanny who can transform and kick people really hard if they try to take this baby. This is my baby. Kick, kick. Kick, kick. Okay. Calls to adventure. We got a lot. And as we've said before, we don't like to read every single word of them, but we got from AU that Minori loves Saki so much, which is super awesome. And then, we've got a legendary slice of life episode. I would contend that with you, Madam AU, but we also got the introduction of the next villain general.
I wonder if what they were trying to say was that it's a really powerful conflict that is rooted in something that could actually happen.
Yeah.
And the girls came closer together at the end of it as a result. So it was very powerful in that way, I think.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Apparently, I remember that there was an episode in Futariwa where they kind of fought and they had a hard time transforming. Well, they weren't even in the same physical location when Bissard showed up, and so that they had to kind of get over that. But in this case, they were able to transform, but not able to win the fight because, again, their magic power basically went when they tried to summon, and they're like, "Oh no, we're out of magic juice." But yeah, that was her thoughts on Splash Star.
Absolutely. I wanted to shout out one of Telemon's thoughts really quickly, just because it did kind of blend from what we were talking about. I thought maybe this was the moment that Kabaton finally was fired and replaced by another general.
Yes.
Because we had his, big final last stand already, and that wasn't it. So, okay, maybe the introduction of a new cure will be it. Thus doesn't seem to be it either. So Telemon said that he thinks maybe they're waiting until Agaha becomes Cure Butterfly.
Yeah, seems like it. And Agaha's moment has got to be coming close. So we ended her introduction episode with them trying to explain away the Precure thing, and she's like, yeah, that's not going to cut it. I didn't get the impression that they told her everything, but in this episode, she clearly knows everything. Yo-Yo calls her, and Yo-Yo says, I'm going to use the magic mirror pad. Also, there's a talking bird. Also, the girls need your help, and she helps wake up Cure Prism and Cure Sky. So, apparently she knows everything. She's gonna transform soon, right? This isn't gonna be another Yui from Go Princess, is it? Where she never actually becomes a
cure.
Yeah,
the opening and closing is just gaslighting us. Maybe, what if she doesn't become a cure? What if that's just a, pop star persona that she adopts? It's just an outfit she puts on.
Oh, I see what you're saying. See, here's my thing. We technically do not see Ageha in the opening or closing. We only see Cure Butterfly. Technically, we see her car, so we can infer, but it might be the case that Ageha is going to be the woman in the chair alongside Yo-Yo, and then Ageha's twin sister is going to show up. Why do I keep mentioning twin sisters this episode? But the twin sister will be Cure Butterfly when she finally shows up.
All right, could be. AU drew some comparisons between Sora and Tsubasa sharing a dream that their peers think is weird.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
In fact, Sora doesn't have any peers because she lived in the woods.
She has girls her same age from her home village, probably. But yeah, that's absolutely a good one. James's only thought, his first thought was just that Sora barked, laugh out loud. I agree, absolutely. But I really liked his prediction after episode 8. He said, I swear to Karun, if the next episode has Tsubasa just fall off the cliff, that would be so mean, but funny. And yes, it is very funny. I hope... Okay. Again, bias against Tsubasa. I hope every episode we get him falling from another location every single time.
You're so mean.
I'm so mean to the poofy little bird that looks like a mochi.
Is Ageha still our favorite member of the team?
For me, absolutely, yeah. No question.
She's just got the vibes.
Well, and we've already met Sora and Mashiro, so the only one who could replace Ageha would be this bird for whom I have very little emotional attachment.
Oh my god, breaking calls to adventure right now. They didn't even actually send this one to us, but I'm obsessed with it. At Cure Meme Rice on Twitter posted a picture of Tsubasa in his bird ready to fight stance with the dual deck arm thing and some Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and it says, "My deck has no pathetic cards, Kabaton."
All right, absolutely, I love it. There's also one of him in puny form. I know AU pointed out that puny means squishy or soft or whatever it was, but I also like the idea that in English puny means small, because that fits him as well. But it had him in his bird form kicking Kabaton, and like tiny little bird the size of maybe Kabaton's eye kicking him across the sky with a powerful kick or whatever.
Oh my gosh.
This is Taleimon's favorite episode yet, and AU also pointed out that every episode has been a banger. I might politely disagree, but I'm still loving Soaring Sky overall, even if these episodes were a little slower for me than past ones. AU is just going wild for Tsubasa. Just, he's just a little guy. He has like an impossible dream. He wants to do his best, and we're all rooting for him. We want the tiny little guy to win. He's like the underdog, but in bird form, the underburb, if you will.
The underburb.
And then, of course, the scene that they were watching Elle stand. I already pointed out, but she really liked it as well. And there's a thought that both they and Taleimon pointed out, and that is that in Tsubasa's flashbacks, we see several birds, one of whom is a green bird with a really cool hairdo, I guess, because birds have insane plumage. But there's one bird in particular who mocks Tsubasa with like, maybe I'm just going to shoot laser beams from my eyes. And that bird had the same coloration as Kabaton and was kind of a beefier, rounder bird. So AU's thought was, kind of looks like Kabaton. And Taleimon's thought was, maybe that's going to be the next general or another undergoo? Is it goo or grew?
Undergoo.
Okay, undergoo teammate kind of a thing. And I'd be interested in that. I love teases of seeing the villains before they showed up in backstories.
There were 3 birds there, and I like the idea of the other 2 being the colors of the next.
So the purple one represents the general we've already met, and then there was one that was kind of pinkish, which would obviously be the boar woman, and then the other one,
there was like an orangish one or something.
Yeah, okay. Absolutely.
Or green, or I don't know. But yeah, I think that's where that'll play.
You've heard of color theory, which states that different colors are calming and different colors are cool and some are warm and these colors go well together. But now we've got a new kind of color theory. That bird's color tells us something about the future episodes.
I wish that could be our final thought. But Joel, do you have any crack theories to send us out on? If we were going to go on hiatus for the rest of the season, give me your summary for how Soaring Sky is going to play out.
The final bad guy will, of course, be the hero from Sora's backstory, and she and Yo-Yo will have entered a pact together where neither can attack the other. And we're not going to find some stupid way to get around that, like a certain movie that I will not mention. It's going to be played straight. Yo-Yo is powerless. Then the hero, the villain hero, is going to say, you can try to stop me, but you'll have to catch me first. I'm on the moon. And they're going to be like, how do we get to the moon? And they're going to create a 5-person, not combo attack. It's not a combo, but like working together teamwork moment where they each keep launching off of the one below them. So the bottom will be Aga with a giant Oni like bat club that she used to throw the other 4 in the air. And then Tsubasa and Secret Fifth Cure will grab Mashiro and Sora by the arms and they'll do like a spin and throw them into the air. And then Mashiro will use her prison thing to throw Sora even further up, and she'll get all the way to the moon in a single jump, and then she'll punch the hero in the face and the day will be saved.
And explode part of the moon.
Yeah, the other half that wasn't destroyed when the arc revealed itself in Sonic Adventure 2 Battle.
The moon will forever be heart-shaped in the human sky.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And that has been your final thought. Outro goes here. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we truly appreciate your support. We hope to return to you soon. Bye.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Podcast Time here at Cure of the What Now. Please remember to take a moment to rate and review us wherever you get your podcast from. If you want to chat more, you can find me at Pirate Ghost Host on Twitter.
And you can find me at KOTWN_pod. The link to our Discord is in my bio. You can join us for streams, games, and weekly discussions. Bye!
Stay heroic!
Soaring